to session 4 with the negotiations between the district and SEIU. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Appreciate it. Before we get started, it was brought to my attention that we recently had somebody who did play a part in the negotiations pass away. Alondra Bell, a food service manager, worked with the district for 18 years, was at Lincoln Elementary. She did play an important part in negotiations, and I just want to take a moment to recognize her with a moment of silence. So. Thank you.
If I can echo that as well. There's a number of provisions in our collective bargaining agreement that have been agreed to by both the district and the union as a mutual benefit, including the dual service, where Ms. Bell, who's one of the food service food service managers, able to kind of take on the role of managing 2 separate kitchens. It was her work, her conversation with other food service managers, the rest of the bargaining committee, and obviously Allison, in terms of getting that into the collective bargaining agreement, which has been a benefit for both, the district and for the union. And I want to, she wasn't just a participant. She wasn't just sitting behind the scenes. She was somebody who was very active, very committed, both for, the work she was doing here at the schools, but also on behalf of her colleagues.
Right. All right. Getting into negotiations, I think we left off last session. I don't think we returned from caucus. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I believe you, I'll turn it over to you. I think you have some things that you were working on as a group, and we'll turn it over to you to hear.
Yeah, so I believe the last time we had met, the main sticking point between a deal between the district and the union was that the union sought and still seeks the 7% across the board wage increase, similar to that earned by the classroom teachers during their most recent ratification collective bargaining agreement, and an agreement on the 3% one-time payment or $1,500, whichever is greater. Just crunching some kind of back-of-the-envelope numbers. Obviously, there are vacancies here. People have been hired, but I think the distance that separates us between, that full deal of getting a ratification is about $2.5 to $2.6 million worth of base wage increases. So our belief is that the district, while obviously you're not flush with money from Tallahassee, you're not flush with all these additional resources, we believe that the district, if you moved your offer up to the 7%, that would satisfy the desires of all of the SEIU bargaining unit groups. And that remains the highest point of difference between the two parties on almost all of the issues. I know we have a couple non-economic issues that are out there, one pertaining to the a driver who fails a physical getting a second opinion from a DOT-certified medical provider. But overwhelmingly, that is the point of contention between where the district's position was back in late October to where it is now. And that is a steadfast position of the union is, we want to see that movement up to the 7%.
Okay. Well, I wish I was here to tell you that that's what we were able to do, but we're not. Our offer is still our offer from the last session. We have brought this to the board. We have brought this to the superintendent. Our offer is what we offered. That includes the 5%, the 3% or $1,500 bonus, the increases to the medically complex, the EBD, paras, the 2 pay levels for mechanics, and really we're hoping that we could reach a deal because we'd love to be able to send that bonus out before the winter break, but this would probably be our last chance to do that. I understand, you're looking for 7%, I get it. But and the cost isn't just the cost for 1 year, the one time. That's a recurring cost that goes into this.
We recognize that.
This isn't as simple as just saying it's between $2 and $3 million. It's a lot more than that long term. And but I don't think you'll hear an argument from anybody that we'd love to put that on the table, but I don't have that.
Yeah. One thing that's been floated on our end, obviously I think we'd want to propose it to the district to kind of bifurcate the possibility of the across-the-board increase and the one-time payment. I'm not saying it's the union's 100% position. I know it's been floated by members of our bargaining committee amongst hearing things from workers in the schools and in the shops about doing the one-time payment first and then reconvening on the across-the-board, basically trying to get the one-time payment into people's pockets, figuring that out, ratifying it, getting that done, and then coming back and figuring out the rest of the economics and non-economics after that time. And I know obviously that takes some conversation with your payroll departments and everyone else, your legal, everyone. So I wanted to kind of float that idea to the district because I know it's something that our membership has expressed as an interest on our part.
Sure, I understand. I would say that I don't think we'd be willing to do that. I think we're looking at this as, we think we're looking to get a deal done, and we're pretty firm on the 5%, so we don't really see the going back and forth. We've gone back and forth. We have brought this to the board. This isn't something that, I make a decision I made alone in my office or that Ms. Frederick made alone. This is something that this is the district's offer. And I think it's a total package. Mm-hmm. So
I'd always assumed it was a magic 8-ball.
I know. I think, hey, I would have to say that over the past few years, we could all recognize that some other districts were, when they were giving nothing, and we gave raises that were consistent with, teachers, with all other bargaining groups. There are a couple years there where, non-instructional employees got nothing. Even some instructional employees got just a one-time bonus. We've been giving consistent raises, and we're still benefiting from that today because of the recurring increases that we gave. They're getting raises on top of a higher rate. So, I think would say it is a magic 8-ball in the sense that Ms. Frederick has been able to come up with this money, consistently for all these years. And I do believe this is a really good offer, and I do understand that everything is so expensive, but this is our offer.
Okay. I know we'll definitely going to want to caucus on our end. And on my end, on anything, I know primarily the biggest difference between the district and the union right now is on economics. And so I do want to focus on that. I don't want to necessarily dive into the other stuff right here today. I think some of that stuff is simpler to have that discussion on, but I do want to caucus with my folks. But before we caucus, is there any comments, questions, any clarification needed from members of the bargaining unit based off of what was just said by both us and the district? Are we clear? Okay. We would want to have the room, if you guys can vacate and give us 30 minutes.
Yep, we could do that.
Thanks.
If you could just text me when you're ready.
We'll do.
Okay.
for the recording purposes, we did have some conversation in caucus that was not here in the room. So the union is interested, I mean, we share an interest in reaching a deal. However, I think we've done our conversations, we're trying to avoid the wage compression as much as we can, recognizing that there's no magic bullet with which to do that. What we have, what we are interested in doing would be to go into the similar exact framework of a 4-tier system based off of the same years of service as last year's, which would have been the Tier 1, 0 to less than 2 full years, Tier 2, 2 full years to less than 6 full years, Tier 3, 6 full years to less than 10 full years, and Tier 4, 10 full years and greater. So the framework that we had expressed, obviously, when we walked over there, was 4.5 for Tier 1, 5.5 for Tier 2, 6.5 to Tier 3, 7.5 for Tier 4, which came out to, I believe, 6 and change % across the board, which was, or sorry, 5.96, I think it was.
Something like that, 6%.
6% roughly.
Yeah.
And then we countered back with the 4.25% Tier 1, 5.25 Tier 2, 6.25 for Tier 3, 7.25 for Tier 4, but I believe that didn't move the needle enough on keeping it above that 5% threshold.
Right. Just
below
looking at these groups where you have your 0 to 2 and your 10 plus have your largest concentration of employees. So that top tier being so high throws it off.
The 1,306 people.
Yes.
Okay, so, and you expressed there's a counter that you guys have within that framework that gets us at or close to that 5% across the board, rewarding on the tiered system as well.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
You need a moment? Yeah. Because I need to run it too.
All right, so what we can do is, for the 0 to 1.99 years of experience, a 4.5% increase. A 2 to 5.99 years of experience, a 5% increase. A 6, 5 even. A 6 to 9.99%, a 5.25. And a 10 plus, a 6%.
Okay, walk me through that. Say that exactly again.
All right, 0 to 1.99, 4.5%.
4.5.
2 to 5.99%, or I'm sorry,
Five.
2.2 to 5.99 years of experience, 5%. 6 to 9.99 years of experience, 5.25%. And 10 plus years of experience, 6%.
Okay. Can we have the room again? We can walk over there too if you need to.
Sure, yeah. You could take me on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So on the wages, we're in agreement on the tier system, right? And I want to make sure we get it on the record of what we're talking about again. It would be tier 1 from 0 to 1.99 years would be a 4.5% base wage increase, effective 1/1/24. Plus, all of these include the one-time payment of 3% or $1,500, whichever is greater. That's
That hasn't changed.
exactly. Second tier, 2 full years up to 5.99 full years would be a 5% across the board increase.
Yep.
6 full years, tier 3, 6 full years to 9.99 full years would be 5.25%. And 10 full years and up would be a 6% across the board increase.
That's correct.
Okay. That out of the way, and that's been a big one. We appreciate the district's movement on this, et cetera. The couple of remaining items for discussion. I know the district had a proposal on involuntary transfers that, honestly, our position would be to kick it to next year. However,
I'm drawing a blank on the involuntary
Transportation?
transfer.
you have
Are
a
you talking about the
beautiful language.
travel pay?
Travel pay, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, would we agree to maybe work through it and maybe develop an MOU or something like that in the off season? I mean,
Yes.
we're not, because I think really when you see what we're trying to do, we're trying to just clean things up that this contract's dated and there's some things in there that just aren't in play anymore and really we're not trying to take anything away from somebody, and we'll be mindful of that, and we'll work together on making sure we don't. But I'm okay with it as long as it's not just we kick it to next year. I think we need some conversations between now and then, just to.
Yeah, if those conversations can include, obviously, my transportation team especially.
Yes.
As part of the discussions, it's a regular issue. Absolutely have that discussion.
Okay.
I do recognize, hey, the kick it to next year means it kicks to 2036 or something.
Right.
The second issue of major importance for our transportation members is we want that second opinion for those who fail their physical to get that second opinion from a DOT-approved medical provider.
So I don't know how much everybody knows, but we did come to you guys with a plan where Marathon is willing to come down, speak with the union, go through whatever concerns we're having, and then go out to all the transportation centers, meet with the drivers to go through this as well, to find out what the concerns are. I feel like
We're interested.
we're
in
not all clear on how big of a problem we're talking about here. There's very few people, I know that Heather has the number, of people who are not making it through it. So this isn't something that is, eliminating a large number of drivers from the ability to work. And I'm not sure we're at that point where we can. I think that is again something that we've offered to let's talk about this. Let's talk with Marathon, because I think even you've mentioned just going to somebody else might not solve the problem. It could, if there is a problem to solve, it could just transfer the problem to somewhere else. But maybe we need to just look at it and talk through this with Marathon, see what it is, hear concerns from the employees. We're willing to do that. Marathon's willing to do that. This, too, can be something that maybe if we approach it like that and we come to an agreement, or we find that there really is a problem, we're not opposed to finding solutions to that. But I don't know that we resolve that at the table today.
Well, let me say this. You guys have an interest in an MOU regarding the travel pay and involuntary transfers aspect of it, which we've got some concern about. If we can commit to, and I say this, let me look at my people here, because if you need to roast me alive, go ahead. If we committed to both having these discussions as part of a memorandum, including the Marathon CEO issue, all that, I've got no issue with doing that. In fact, the only issue I would ever have in doing it would be if Marathon was only going to meet with us and not our membership, because I just don't have any interest in that, none.
No,
And I know you
they
don't.
are willing to come here, go out to meet all the drivers. They're not afraid of this. They are legitimately invested in trying to find solutions to, and hearing concerns if the, whatever problems that we're facing. So this isn't something that we're afraid of approaching. It's just, I think there's a sequence here that we should follow, and it's not just first go right off the bat, say, we need to go get a second opinion. That's not where we're willing to go right away. We have to explore this first, and we're fully committed to doing that.
My transportation folks, do we want to take a quick caucus outside? All right, we'll do that.
All right.
All right. Okay, so after conversation with my folks, we want to commit to those conversations.
Okay.
I want as many of my transportation folks who have both at their respective compounds, drivers invested in this issue. I think the issues are many, and I think that either quote clearing the air or investigating these issues is valuable.
Yes.
In terms of before we get to the next contract. And I agree with you in terms of what you said about the travel pay and not wanting to kick it down the road, that we want to start those conversations immediately. But aside from that, we have a deal.
All right. Thank you. Great. I appreciate you. I appreciate you working through the team and being creative with the raise, the tiering. I'm glad we could reach a deal today. And we will get to work on getting those things in the system and getting those bonuses paid out. We'll have to talk about ratification. I'm thinking the week after Thanksgiving would be a week where we really want to make sure that's happening.
Yep.
But other than that, again, I really appreciate everybody's participation here and getting the deal done. And have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right.
After.